Hi everyone, welcome to our video tutorial about Ncache and NHibernate. Ncache is an enterprise distributed caching solution meant for your application scalability and performance. In today's tutorial, we are going to see how we can scale out NHibernate applications using a level 2 cache provider from Ncache. NHibernate is an excellent ORM tool for your application, and it simplifies your coding standards across different teams. And Hibernate gives you with an in-process cache by default where you can hold the data temporarily inside your worker process for each transaction. This works fine for single server applications, but this becomes a performance bottleneck for enterprise applications. In enterprise applications, you usually have multiple web servers in a load balance scenario, and there are multiple worker processes running on each of them. So it results in placing multiple redundant queries on your database for the same data from each worker process, which slows down your application as a net result, and it also results in redundant storage individually on each worker process side in its own memory. And you can't scale out when you need to grow out your user base. So to overcome these limitations, NHibernate provides you with a level 2 cache provider where you can plug in a second level cache. The second level cache is used in conjunction with your in-process cache. Whenever you get the data from your database first time, NHibernate automatically pushes that data into the second level cache, which is shared by all worker processes. Ideally, the second level cache should be an in-memory cache as you want to increase your application performance. It needs to be an out-of-process cache, which does not get flushed even if your worker process recycles. It needs to be distributed so it can be shared among multiple worker processes on different web servers. Remember, you can only increase your application scalability and performance if your underlying caching infrastructure is highly scalable and performance oriented. So here we have such a level 2 cache provider from Ncache. This is an out-of-process in-memory distributed caching solution which has a dynamic clustering capability, and it spans over multiple servers. The transactional load from your application gets distributed equally to all the cache servers at runtime to get you more performance. And Ncache keeps the data replicated across the entire cluster to provide you with a consistent failover in case you lose any of your cache servers. Ncache supports both synchronous and asynchronous replication modes, so you can keep the data replicated without any performance overhead. The performance of Ncache grows out linearly when you add more servers to the caching tier. There's no limit on the cache size, so you can grow as much as you want on your data size. You can also include more servers at runtime into the cache cluster dynamically to increase the transactional capability as well as have more memory. It also provides you with a dashboard style monitoring, which helps you with a quick glance to see the cache performance, your client application activity on the cache, and the various system resources consumed by the cache. The right hand side picture shows the partitioned replica topology, which keeps the data partitioned and replicated on multiple servers. Partitioned replica is the most popular topology within Ncache. So here's a high-level architecture diagram when you plug in this level 2 provider from Ncache in your enterprise application. It doesn't require any code changes in your application. You only need to have some configuration changes in your web or app.config. We'll talk about it. So there are no more redundant calls going to your database if you have already fetched the data in the previous transaction. In a load balance form like this, the data is pushed to the second level cache automatically by NHibernate once you get it first time from your database, and this cache is shared by all the web servers. So it helps you reduce the load on your database. So with the configuration changes, you can configure a number of features for the second level cache provider. For example, you can use NHibernate regions. You can set cache objects to expire with an absolute or idle time expiration. You can also configure SQL dependency for database synchronization. Both synchronous and asynchronous cache operations are supported. And you can also configure the cache item priority. So I'm going to take you through a quick step-by-step hands-on session to configure Ncache level 2 cache provider for a sample application. I would suggest you to download the free 60 days enterprise edition from our website. This is a fully functional and feature-rich product even in the evaluation days. Once you install Ncache, here's how it looks like on your system. It installs a bunch of Visual Studio samples. Let's go to the NHibernate sample, for example, open in Visual Studio. You might need to rebuild the sample if you're using Visual Studio 2010. You may need the conversion as well. Let's take a look at the configuration changes that you need to do for your app.config for the second level cache provider from Ncache. You need to define a section named Ncache for the cache provider like this in your app.config. And then you can add a property for the cache provider like this. And here we define the Ncache section itself with multiple regions. These regions are the NHibernate regions. Each region maps to a different cache name from Ncache. So we have a default region here which caters for all the entities on which you do not specify any NHibernate region. And we have specific named region like this customer region. Within each region, you can specify multiple properties for each of the classes that fall into that region. For example, set the SQL dependency for that, set the priority of the cache items, use synchronous or asynchronous, set the expiration strategy to be relative or idle time. So in order to run the sample, what you need to have is, you need to have a couple of caches, the default cache running and my partition replica cache running within your Ncache manager. Let's go to Ncache manager. I've set this up with my partition replica cache and default cache with two servers set up right now. Let's run your application with the customers list, for example. Just watch the request per seconds going to both of the servers, pushing the data to it once you obtain it from the database. So there are about 49 plus 42 items on both these servers, equally distributed to both. And if I run the query again, I'll be able to get these results directly from the second level cache cluster instead of going to your database. So just watch the request per second, equally answered from both the servers. Now we can have the reliability test. We can take down one of the cache servers, and still you will see that the cache cluster is capable to give you the items and recover it from the remaining servers. For that, we'll have to stop one of the servers, and I'm going to do that. We have the two servers, 21 and 22. I'm going to stop 22 as if it has gone out of the cluster, and then rerun the query. You will see 49 plus 42, the 91 items are still available on one of the servers. They have been recovered from the other server now. And if I rerun the query again, view the customers list again, I should be able to get all the items from this server from the cluster. You can see the request per second going on, fetches per second going on from this server. So you have the reliable caching in place now. No matter if one of your cache servers is not available at runtime, the other cache servers can recover the data and respond well to your queries. At the same time, you're reducing load on your database. No more redundant queries are going to your database. We do provide the integration code for the NHibernate and Ncache, as you can see in the project that I have opened up. And this source code is available for you to optimize or customize for your specific NHibernate versions. And if you go to the Ncache installation folder, here we have the code. So thanks very much for your time today. And we today saw how Ncache can be useful, how reliable and scalable Ncache is to increase the performance of your NHibernate application. Stay tuned for more updates from Ncache. We'll discuss various features in the coming tutorials. If you have any questions, send us an email on support@apachesoft.com.